Sorry, just brushing my hair. Kind of got a bit messy. Okay. Hello. I guess you can see that image top right. That's my girlfriend. She's in heaven. She's not really my girlfriend because she's in heaven, but the image to the left represents her physical body being violently crushed to death by a large heavy blunt object. And we're going to start with this folder, actually. So we're going to open up Opera Snapshot 2026, April 19th at 4:41 p.m. And this is where the evidence is going to begin. And we're just going to wait for another 8 minutes until anyone who has joined in the discussion, or rather until anyone who would have liked to join the discussion has done so. And this is just going to be mainly me reading these words and getting through the evidence as quickly as possible, because there's a lot of it. There's perhaps 5,000 pages dating back to April 19th alone. And there's much to discuss. You know, I'm not going to try and lead all of the discussions. I'm just going to simply state what I believe has occurred according to my eidetic memory and the text as written, and then move on to the next paragraph. And if there's anything that needs to be clarified during the relaying of the information for, public discourse, then I can submit that as I'm going through the evidence verbally, or orally rather, or later on. Feel free to post any comments. I'm sure this will unfold into something quite complicated. Mr. President has spiritually asked me how I'm feeling. Okay, Mr. President, sir. I'm a little warm. This room doesn't have air conditioning. Yeah. So I'm not gay, and I am male. And I'm not a transsexual. I just happen to wear makeup sometimes, to kind of enhance my basic appearance and artistically. And I dress in mainly female clothes, but not stuff that looks obviously female. It's just like, brighter, more colorful styles with cute kind of graphics on them and whatnot. So that's, just kind of my style. It's not that I have any kind of sexual peculiarity or gender-based peculiarity. I am... Okay. Let me start slowly with that question, because the Mr. President has asked me if I'm anti-trans, or anti-transgender. And the answer is no, right off the bat. Well, so I feel kind of both ways about the subject. I think, by and large, unconditionally, transgenderism medically for minors, those under the age of majority, is off the table. But I'm unwilling to criticize or condemn any adult person for his or her personal decisions to do with his or her own body. According to my religion, which is Christianity, I feel that undergoing a surgical operation in order to remove or change certain parts which God blessed you with is fundamentally the wrong decision, but it's between you and God. I'm not casting any kind of judgment towards you, or I just want that to be established, and also to clarify that according to my experiences among Christian communities, it's not the case that those with differences of behavior, mannerism, expression, clothing style, or whatever else, for example, are rejected or discriminated against. In our religion, in our churches, we choose to accept people on a case-by-case basis, regardless of whatever qualities they may or may not have. And it's every church's right to accept or turn away any visitors for whatever reasons whatsoever. That is a Republican view. It's also not it's not a anti-compassion view either. Because I think when it comes to gender definition of ourselves according to our qualities, biologically, that is, in 99.99999% of cases, quite clear at birth. But I think emotionally and psychologically and to deal with social behavior can be another factor in one's identity altogether. And I would never, judge or behave offensively towards any person who was not judging me or behaving offensively towards me in the first place. And if you're anatomically male and you have a penis and you want to say that for whatever reason, express yourself as female and say that you're female, that's fine. I will never cast condemnation upon you for having merely made such choices. Even in the case of a surgical change, it's not my business. However, it is my point of view, kind of in line with some philosophies pointed out by Professor Jordan Peterson of U of T during recent talks, or semi-recent talks. I believe it is not the transgenders' human right to force another to utilize a specific form of address or pronoun in an ordinary social context that is not, for example, legally binding. I'll leave it at that. Okay, so let's open up this evidence folder. I think I already opened this file, but it's fine. Let's get going with it. I'm using Opera GX. Here's the website that I write on. Here's my public name is Rainbow Loom, birth name is Ryan, last name Cornish, and there's just some nicknames. Rainbow Loom, Near, Mellow, I would be both. There's my chronological date of birth, and there's an email I've used, rainbowloomtrumpet@outlook.com. Alessia is in the same grade as Rainbow Loom. Okay, so much of these are just going to be ordinary social communications. Okay, so these do not always necessarily relate to the pertaining subjects of much concern which have been addressed in the uploads on YouTube. But I want you to pay attention to all of these kind of social exchanges regardless, and understand that for the most part they're occurring in a realm of being that is purely spiritual and just have to do with my thought process. But when I overhear something in my environment or experience something in my day-to-day physical life, I may make a note of that, and that's where most of the evidence kind of will be centered around, are, you know, those instances where I'm overhearing things in my environment and then am essentially tortured into being forced to respond. And it would be, you know, daily, on a non-stop kind of basis, that my attention would be repetitively demanded as such from all different directions by any manner of untowards individual. So Alessia is in the same grade as Rainbow Loom. And that's grade 7 or grade 8. Grade 7-8 split is where I would put myself. Big Cat is saying this to me in spiritual context. Are you still going to visit me though? Next week, Big Cat. Okay. Just to see you before I go to the States, we can go to the LCBO and I'll make sure I have $20. Okay, next one. That on the right, on the left is Alessia, and then on the right there is Gianna, her sister. And Gianna is, I think, 11, and Alessia is, I think, is 13. But yeah, I just happened to be watching that video, and then I went and shaved and did like a bath and whatnot, and I posted, now Rainbow Loom is 1000% cleaner. Now we're getting into the meat of the matter. If you're in Canada, which I sadly am right now, national propaganda meant to make you accept Muslims, which are essentially pedophiles, has dementedly caused pedophiles to think they can get away with being funny and respectable public figures, having raped children. Like having raped children for real. It thinks, and the public in Canada thinks, it can stand there and make a spectacle of itself, and we're supposed to accept it in good humor. It has been raping me for 1.5 years, and the government, due to needing to appease its donors, is lacking just enough benefit of the doubt for Rainbow Loom, which is saying something extreme, given the number of messages being sent, at which rate. Okay, so the government, I'm saying, by design, has completely failed to stop the rape of Rainbow Loom publicly. Because it can't quite accept the proof. Even though by any reasonable measure, globally, in the case, it's extremely proven. And it's just over half the population, whether knowingly or unknowingly, accepting pedophilia by their vote. I think there must have been foul play because, again, that nigger... I'm sorry, I know this is a very sensitive term in the States. I'm going to be using it a lot. And in making the statement nigger, what I'm doing is addressing a cracker to be lowered to the level of, at the very least, my equal in a legal context. So that nigger has literally raped a little girl, and just over half the population surrounding me doesn't think that matters. You don't understand. You have become a psychopath state. Canada is a psychopath state. Close your asshole, nigger. You are a psychopath. You are in a psychopath state. Close your asshole. You have a time left to live that is contingent on your own ability to stop raping children. Because it stands. The US is moving to have the entire civilization north of the border atomized. For real. This is back in April. I'm making statements like this, trying to get the rape to just stop, you know? The US is going to atomize everything north of the border because you're all pedophiles. And the rest of the world agrees. And the nigger's capacity to interject into my text box with malware is not going to impact that fate one way or the other. You became a psychopath state. We just shut down your population. No, we actually just shut down your population, the rate this is going. Because you have proven, thus far, to be more than 50% psychopathic as a population. At least to Ryan Benjamin Cornish, the innocent 14-year-old autistic kid. Your one legal option is to leave Ryan Benjamin Cornish alone. Important to point out, these statements are not being made with the objective of provoking the Muslim community, or any other community. Each of these statements is made in response to violent, psychopathic, demonic aggression occurring within this building of 7 Wilson View Avenue in Guelph, Ontario, and just surrounding it. Nothing else you do besides leaving me alone will change anything. Ryan will not be involved in the proceedings, and every time he feels forced to contribute, that is only because you are raping him into having a, quote, dialogue, unquote, with you. We're gonna really, actually nuke your population, I'm informing you. It's not an argument. You have become demonic. Facts! Someone said if I had to call someone Shepard. I think I was the only one who made all of the morally correct choices while playing Mass Effect. I don't like the comparison of myself to Commander Shepard. We are much... I mean, I guess I could kind of design him, or her. Mostly him. I would choose him, but I don't know, because is there many... I don't know. I could design the Shepard to be myself. Like, it'd be cool. I'm sure I did that when I played the game. But I don't like the comparison because he's kind of in charge of something that's not really political. And, you know, I'm not really in charge of anything political either. I'm just merely I'm presenting evidence and submitting to the orders of Mr. President of the United States. But within Canada, I am the one morally in charge in this situation. So if you're a Canadian, the chances are greater than 50%. You have damaged me so much, I own you. We have to go until 3. And then there will be a long period for you to discuss whichever, statements have been made. But be aware that many questions which you may have will simply be answered in paragraphs that precede. There might be things to talk about, but if you can't shut the niggers up... Like, I'm not saying these things, all right? And then they're gathering and going blah, 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 and getting all frustrated or furious. They're doing that in the first place, and then I'm saying these things in response. Well, you'd have to be brain dead not to realize that by now. You're going to be shot, woman. Somebody made some extremely psychopathic comment, so that's how I responded. You need to be shot dead. Close your vagina. If the country has damaged the individual to the extent provable, and they are not remorseful as a majority, that's a psychopath state. You just blow it up. Well, there may be other procedures, probably gassing, so we can reclaim some of the damage. If you kill the kid, he becomes Christ. Yeah, really. If someone killed me, I would become Christ. I would judge all of you in the afterlife. Because I'm a complete 100% morally pure innocent who's never fucked anyone or even kissed a girl. But they're trying to kill me, though. But that already happened in this kid's universe. Right? In my universe, Christ already was crucified. He went he was crucified on the cross, and he was placed in a cave in a burial site, and then was reincarnated 3 days later. That's already happened. So I'm not going to really become Christ. I think if the thing happened again, right, and the humanity decided to just butcher this innocent kid for whatever reason, God's just going to end the universe and start over. No, he's not everyone. So somebody else is saying this on my behalf. No, he's not anyone's prophet. And none of this matters. All of your best options are to shut up about it 100% of the time and let the kid get back to his kid activities. Well, we're just going to kill you otherwise. Notice these discussions have been going on for a year and a half. So it's not like, I'm coming out of the gates with some of this shit, right? It's overall a joke. It will never complete itself in such a way, but it's not a joke because you have raped the country's entire population of children as the Muslim community. Rainbow Loom still asserts, take to international court. The Muslim community is tried for crimes against humanity. End result, ban Islam. I'll do it. I'll testify. And secondarily, the government of Canada can be tried internationally as well for treason to the Crown. Something to the effect, that's for sure. Shy Samantha. Okay, well, I had like kind of I received a weird message, Shy Samantha, and I said, okay, and I typed it out. I got a yes response. So this is not actually a this is just a spiritual message. Don't pay much attention to this, but FYI, while I was taking a bath and shaving my body this morning, the entire fucking building was yapping at me directly in my face, practically. You think I forget this shit? No, I know you do, by necessity of the fact that you committed the crime and have to pretend not to have done it in order to not get caught. But I'm not forgetting! My rapist is literally occupying the room above my bathroom on this day, 2026, 04/19. My rapist is literally occupying the room above my bathroom while I'm taking a bath, and the entire building is aiding and abetting it. You're going to be investigated! This was the Mr. President's reaction to when I was trying to say I was Commander Shepard from Mass Effect. He said, you want to be like that guy, Rainbow Loom. There's been an extra cross added into the Mr. President's statement. Notice I indicate a spiritual message from the Mr. President with a quotation, then a double cross separated by an underscore. I didn't make the typo to insert the second cross. But there's malware all the fuck over this, PC. It's whatever, right? So I received a distress signal from the younger Ryan from the playground in Brampton. I said, are they raping the little Ryan? See, that's why I'm going to gas the country. No, I'm actually going to gas the country. Her own mother was involved in the death cult. Oh, Rainbow Loom was forced to be a witness. Rainbow Loom is of the same first name. You waited until there would be no evidence. Then you strapped her to a table. And you told her Rainbow Loom said she got raped because she fucked the Muhammad. And she yelled, I did fuck the Muhammad! She's a little virgin 4th grader with blonde hair named Ryan who has never had sex. The death cult spent 1 year, 2 months, and 5 days manipulating Rainbow Loom into inspiring her to believe that magic was real and that he was Seamus Taylor Darian Lander and she was Samantha Hart May Lander. She knows Rainbow Loom would never tell anyone to rape her, and Rainbow Loom did not. The adult Muslim pedophile she was revealed moments ago to have been sold to, unbeknownst to Rainbow Loom, encircle her, laughing. Yes, that is very extremely graphic. Something inserted a typo into the statement. I corrected it. I got a no response. I rejected the request to communicate. the degree of violence comes from other dimensions, and I say that seriously with an IQ of 184. Your nation just committed suicide, and it didn't even pay. Right? Because it wasn't entertaining, right? You had to crush the skull and put up the no fap sign because... So at least she wasn't raped for, indefinitely into the future and blah, blah, blah. So Rainbow Loom can tell the whole story identically, actually, without the text. If you want to take that as evidence, and you should, but the States has the identically reported information on a 24/7 basis already, thanks to Rainbow Loom. So your last fuck you didn't even work. Your nation is on global lockdown. We know you're a snuff factory. Rainbow Loom will be going to the States to share the evidence with the FBI. Memorials of Jesus lit up the skyline of New York, all the way to South Dakota, up to Maine, Tennessee. And your big hit on a Rainbow Loom the Miner was a flop. Because you don't fuck with Buddhism, you Muslim. What? They were going to make a big scene of it for all the pedophiles and the police, the government, everyone was all in on it. They were going to snap Rainbow Loom into an irrevocable wreck with the torture of Samantha Hart May Lander, the real one. Instead, they were forced to end the broadcast with a brick to the head. No fap. Because I started writing. No more Islam. Bye-bye. You didn't recreate the Islamic Golden Age with the Negro rat dick from Somalia and the Decker Princess. But you tried to, so we're going to basically force you to convert or you die. No, you're all dead. The country is on lockdown. They can't publish it, but you won't fly anywhere. Oh, the whole fucking neighborhood, whole fucking city of Guelph knew about it, guarantee. It was supposed to be a big spectacle. They're talking about it out loud right now, the tenants to the top left of my unit. And the ones directly above. Loud enough for me to hear over the Opera GX at a fair 21 decibels. Or whatever. So this was completely preventable. The entire society was going to hate fuck that little girl to death because she wanted to be Samantha Hart May Lander with Rainbow Loom. And they convinced her she was going to be, and then was going to rape her to the Muhammad. What? It was all orchestrated, yeah? They had the same first name. Rainbow Loom has been turned into a human petting zoo. It began in October 2024 when they met. And gently, as kids wanted to get to know each other, she was the Deku Princess, he was young Link. Then she threw a pine cone at her friends and said, "I'm Samantha, the Ice Queen." A character from Rainbow Loom's story only Rainbow Loom should have known about. The kids met several times. The mother had witnessed the child, Rainbow Loom, crying on a hill at the nearby playground to 14 Kirkland. Playground season ended on Valentine's Day, 2025. Ryan's image was sexually targeted by the tenants living above Ryan at 14 Kirkland Road. She was a little 8-year-old girl then in grade 3. Ryan became very furious, the older one, and decided to be Link. In a panic, Link fled to Guelph. The Muslim community stalked him and continued to threaten to harm the younger female Ryan. Ryan would eventually express these details to Ryan's parents. At first, in March 2025, he was isolated at a hotel, then another hotel. It was full-scale jihadist torment by the Muslim community. They were going to eat the child if he did not convert. Everything on his shoulders, and he would yell really loud and be really strong, and no one would approach him, but he was only 5'8", maybe $120 or $130. The Muslim community was full on societal scale. convincing him that they were going to kidnap the little girl Ryan, or alternatively, she would be sold by her suggested to be psychopath mother to the Mohammed ogres or whatever. It was a big spectacle in the streets. There was a pedophile raping Samantha in 202, a pedophile raping Samantha in 204, and Seamus, Rainbow Loom, was in 203, whipping the black belt at the wall, right? Yelling, "In the name of the Lord Jesus!" It was raping Seamus while Seamus was putting on makeup in a mirror at a hotel, and Seamus became Darian Lander. While being raped in a hotel, Rainbow Loom's transmissions to report evidence on this website were subjected to ruthless cyber hacking. Rainbow Loom would have to intricately sort out letter by letter at a rapid pace. They would use the inserted typos as a distraction, affording them an opportunity to yell or say something gruesome to seize Rainbow Loom's attention. You know, it was everywhere out of sight. Full-on horror spectacle targeting only Ryan Benjamin Cornish, and ultimately this little girl Ryan, last name unknown. Ryan managed to convince Rainbow Loom's dad to move Rainbow Loom into a familial neighborhood in May to escape from the rapists. I thought maybe they stalk me and are able to track because I'm living in hotels. The rapist invaded the house, 109 Northumberland, and Ryan endured torrential hate torture leading to 40 slices on the upper left arm with a steak knife. And the typo wasn't made. Well, Rainbow Loom's dad practically watched. Rainbow Loom was threatening to kill the freaks loudly in broad daylight in the street. No one seemed to care. Rainbow Loom was invisible to all but a select few in society. It was carefully, deliberately arranged, we presume, to try and cause Rainbow Loom's suicide. Rainbow Loom fought Rainbow Loom's Ganondorf into moving Rainbow Loom into a nice, decently expensive single-bedroom apartment, B5 and 7 Wilson View Avenue, still in Guelph. Samantha was still in Brampton. Rainbow Loom saw Samantha one last time at Weybridge in November with earmuffs on, just briefly. It was too scary to stay long. On October 21st, Rainbow Loom had been demonically possessed to create an incision haphazardly with a steak knife on the left forearm. It was surgically repaired. Since then, the torture has been immense. And by the way, the incision was gaping open, 4 by 2 inches, stretching across the entire forearm. It was like that. And totally out of my control. This coming from a person with an IQ of 184. So you're not going to tell me that I did that? Fuck off. It was surgically repaired. Since then, the torture has been immense. Non-stop, 24/7 animal abuse. Rainbow Loom the Virgin has a privacy factor of 0! When Rainbow Loom is taking a bowel movement for the past 1 year, 2 months, and 5 days, no one will ever approach Rainbow Loom. No. Like, all of the time, 24/7. If I'm taking a bowel movement, there's the psychopath which is planning to butcher my kid girlfriend is addressing me. And I'm typing all of it on the fucking internet saying, this is gonna happen, somebody help! Okay? You don't have a country. You're not a country, Canada. And this has been the case for a very long time, but no one will ever approach Rainbow Loom who looks anywhere near the same age. I appear to be 12 to 14. Cameras were diabolically engineered via AI to manipulate my face to to portray adult features as though an adult man was wearing kids' clothes and pretending not to be a pedophile, also looking very gay with lots of makeup. But I just look like, well, you know what I look like. Somebody may think I look gay. I don't. I'm not gay. But I'm not an adult man. My eyes are 2/5 the way up my face. I stand 6.5 heads tall at a maximum. In behavior, in social behavior, I'm somewhere between 10 and 15. You know, I can be intellectually 16 in a circumstance. In like an abstract, purely abstract philosophical circumstance. But I don't know what the fuck I would be consenting to. Realistically, like I mean, I can read a fine print and make a signature and okay, but you expect that I misinterpreted like half the shit, okay? My English is very good. Okay, so in a legal context, if I was gonna have to make a signature, it'd be you wouldn't want to hold me to that kind of responsibility. Without supervision, you know? Without express supervision. But I'm a 14-year-old in intellect. Like, I'm fully developed cognitively. Was not the case, 10 years ago when I was chronologically 20, but by now I am. But I have severe autism, and that would be why. Like, such that you could actually see it in my bone structure. Okay? So that shouldn't have been happening. Truthfully, to our cameras, Rainbow Loom appeared to be a gender androgynous 12 or 13-year-old girl or boy, depending on the amount of makeup he was wearing. He is chronologically 30, but has not high-functioning autism, folks, but stage 2 behavioral delayed autism, stage 1 social communication delayed autism. Intellectual enhancement, profound creative talent. The kid's history spells a growing sea of vomit, eating everything he ever knew, loved, or even cared about. Then he was left with the salvation of the little Ryan, Samantha the Deku Princess, the Ice Queen, from Forothoft. Her mother pretended to be loving. Rainbow Loom wrote stories and sang songs about Samantha. We produced music together in spirit. Rainbow Loom acquired plenty of sentimental belongings. But she knew when the battle was coming. And she knew. Because Rainbow Loom told her that the Dracolis would go after Samantha, and then she and Seamus would reappear in heaven, and she would get to make a beautiful wish with God. But they were going to make it hurt a lot first. But Darian Lander, Seamus Taylor made it very sudden all at once, because Seamus Taylor, Darian Lander knows Eiji Onuma Sensei, and he trusted Rainbow Loom was the real link. Well, the Muslim community and the government of Canada are now caught red-handed, guilty of child rape and public tormented. Child rape and public torment! Followed by snuff carnival!